Everyone, we are live tonight. Let me just make sure that all my volumes are up and we are kicking it together. I trust that everyone had a great day. I had a very great day. I sure did. I was productive. Well, I got yelled at a couple of times. Oh, yes, I did. You tell your owner. Oh, child. My owner. Oh, I thought to myself, my owner. Shoot, we didn't have an owner for over 150 years now. But I digress. So yeah. Oh, I listen, let me tell you something. Sometimes you just gotta inhale and exhale and say to yourself, wow, us humans are something else. Here are extraterrestrial beings learning how to navigate wormholes and dimensions, and we're just into name calling. Wow. I digress, right? But that's why we do what we do, so we can do what we're doing tonight from out of this world. We are thinking fourth dimensionally. Oh, yes, we are. Let us begin. Chapter 1, Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. And now I have told you before it comes to pass, that when it comes to pass, ye might believe. John 14, verse 29. Many persons, myself included, have observed events before they occurred. That is, before they occurred in this world of three dimensions. Since man can observe an event before it occurs in the three dimensions of space, life on earth must proceed according to plan. And this plan must exist elsewhere in another dimension and be slowly moving through our space. If the occurring events were not in this world when they were observed, then, to be perfectly logical, they must have been out of this world. Out of this world, you say? And whatever is there to be seen before it occurs here must be predetermined from the point of view of man awake in a three-dimensional world. Thus, the question arises, are we able to alter our future? Let's find out. My object in writing these pages is to indicate possibilities inherent in man, to show that man can alter his future. But thus altered, it forms again a deterministic sequence starting from the point of interference, a future that will be consistent with the alteration. The most remarkable feature of a man's future is its flexibility. Let me say that again to you. The most remarkable feature of man's future is its flexibility. Man's future, it is determined by his attitudes rather than by his act. Wait, my future is determined by my attitude instead of my actions? Oh, let's find out. The cornerstone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself. Hmm? The cornerstone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself. He acts as he does and has the experiences that he does because his concept of himself is what it is, and for no other reason. Had he a different concept of self, he would act differently. A change of concept of self automatically alters his future, and a change in any term of his future series of experiences reciprocally alters his concept of himself. Hello, Nicole. Snow, I see you. Brother Booty, I can't see it. Your best friend, I see you. It's Melon, I see you. I see you. Welcome. Listen, man's assumptions, which he regards as insignificant, produce effects that are considerable. Therefore, man should revise his estimate of an assumption and recognize its great power. Let me say that again a little slower. Man's assumptions, which he regards as insignificant. Your assumptions that you think of yourself as insignificant, they produce effects that are considerable. Therefore, you should revise your estimate of an assumption and recognize its power. I'm talking to me. All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, has several outcomes. You see that first line, all changes take place in consciousness? You know this to be true 100%. Sometimes you don't want to get out of bed, but what do? You make up your mind about something and then you do what? You move according to what you just made up your mind about. So all changes take place in consciousness. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. There are two actual outlooks on the world possessed by everyone: a natural focus and a spiritual focus. The ancient teachers call the one the carnal mind, the other the mind of Christ. We may differentiate them as ordinary waking consciousness, governed by our senses, and a controlled imagination governed by desire. We recognize these two distinct centers of thought in the statement, the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, for they are spiritually discerned. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 14. The natural view confines reality to the moment called now. To the natural view, the past and future are purely imaginary. The spiritual view, on the other hand, sees the contents of time. It sees events as distinct and separated as objects in space. The past and future are a present whole to the spiritual view. What is mental and subjective to the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. Again, what is mental and subjective to the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. The habit of seeing only that which our senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. I hear you, the ultimate. I hear you. Because you're right, religion is man made, but the laws of creation are man observed. They do not require religion. So you're correct. But listen to this statement: the habit of seeing only that which our senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. So if you keep looking at something and say, oh no, because you can see it with your eyes, you've got to learn how to see it within your mind's eye as to what you want it to be. And as you hold true to what you want it to become from this image, it unfolds as such. So the habit of seeing only that which our senses permit, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, taste, touch. The habit of seeing only that which our senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. Well, how is that? To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality. Let me slide in there. The one example I will use all the time is how we argue in here. Why do this all the time? You're not always going to get along with everyone. But if you continually have the argument in your head about what you want to tell them, you don't listen. Your senses are telling you you don't get along with this person. But here in your mind's eye, you are rehearsing every single thing you want to tell them. So what are you doing? You are seeing the invisible. And because you see the invisible, right? That is what happens, and you end up arguing with that person that you were arguing with right here. So you see, we do it all the time. So to cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality. I am well, Wosis. I am well. Thank you for asking. So you see, we do it all the time. Anytime you're having that invisible argument in your mind, you have committed to the invisible. And you are mentally feeling it and sensing it until you believe it to be true. So that when you walk through the door, the very thing you rehearsed here is what comes out of your mouth. You see, we do it all the time. Earnest, concentrated thought focused in a particular direction shuts out other sensations and causes them to disappear. We have but to concentrate on the state desired in order to see it. Again, we do it every day. You cussing out somebody in your mind's eye, you are concentrating on that. You are focused on it. And that's what you'll see. The habit of withdrawing attention from the region of sensation and concentrating it on the invisible develops our spiritual outlook and enables us to penetrate beyond the world of sense and to see that which is invisible. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. Romans 1 verse 20. This vision is completely independent of the natural faculties. Open it and quicken it. Without it, these instructions are useless. For the things of the spirit are spiritually discerned. So where are you having the mental conversation? Spiritually. You're having that mental conversation spiritually. You come home and you might be a little bit tired and you don't want somebody to meet you at the door. And so in your mind's eye, you have this conversation going on. Oh, don't talk to me right now. I'm really tired. I don't feel like it. I'm not in the mood. And you rehearse that and you rehearse that and you rehearse that until it feels natural to you, naturally. And when you open the door and you go inside your house and someone greets you at the door, what's the first thing you say? I'm not in the mood to have this conversation. I'm tired. Leave me alone. Because you rehearsed it. You rehearsed it spiritually. Invisibly, you rehearsed it. So now the writer, Neville Goddard, is saying to you the same way that you can envision the argument, you can also envision in your mind's eye the peaceful conversation. But there's no difference between the two. It's just a matter of which one are you going to entertain and feel. Yes? A little practice will convince us that we can, by controlling our imagination, reshape our future in harmony with our desire. Desire is the mainspring of action. We could not move a single finger unless we had a desire to move it. No matter what we do, We follow the desire which at the moment dominates our minds. Let me say that slower. No matter what we do, we follow the desire which at the moment dominates our minds. Test it for yourself and see. When we break a habit, our desire to break it is greater than our desire to continue in the habit. Is that not true? When you say, I am tired of this, and you cold turkey, your desire to change was stronger than your desire to remain as you are. You do it all the time. I'm just showing you that you do it so that you can get some confidence to say, oh, snap, I have been doing it. Well, let me continue to do it, but deliberately now. Meaning, let me continue to do it because I know what I'm doing now. A desire is but awareness of something we lack or need to make our life more enjoyable. Oh, say it again for me, Angela. A desire is but an awareness of something we lack or need to make our life more enjoyable. Now, do you see why you have desires? Desires always have some personal gain in view. The greater the anticipated gain, the more intense is the desire. There is no absolutely unselfish desire. Where there is nothing to gain, there is no desire, and consequently, no action. I don't have to say that twice. You already know what it means. But let's say it twice anyway. There is no absolutely unselfish desire. Where there is nothing to gain, there is no desire, and consequently, no action. Tell me I'm wrong. You know this. Hmm. The spiritual man speaks to the natural man through the language of desire. The key to progress in life and to the fulfillment of dreams lies in ready obedience to its voice. Whose voice? Desire. Unhesitating obedience to its voice is an immediate assumption of the wish fulfilled. To desire a state is to have it. To desire a state is to have it. As Pascal has said, you would not have sought me had you not already found me. Man, by assuming the feeling of his wish fulfilled and then living and acting on this conviction, alters the future in harmony with his desire or with his assumption. Assumptions awaken what they affirm. As soon as man assumes the feeling of his wish fulfilled, his four-dimensional self finds ways for the attainment of this end, discovers methods for its realization. I know of no clearer definition of the means by which we realize our desires than to experience in imagination what we would experience in the flesh were we to achieve our goals. I'm going to say that slower, but I have to highlight it first. Experience in imagination what you would experience in the flesh were you to achieve your goal. Explain? Okay. What's the first thing you would do if your desire were fulfilled? The first thing, who would you call? Naturally. Who would you tell? Naturally. Who would insult you? Naturally. What would happen? Would you call up your bestest friend and go, girl, let me tell you what happened? Would you do that naturally? Is that your personality? If you're like me, you'd do the running man. I would do the running man first because that's my personality. So, what would you do naturally in the flesh? What would you do? Then do it here. Play it out right here. Why? Because when you play it out right here, your body will have a response that says, yes, girl, tell me some more. I know this feels good because we got it. And you start to feel it in your body. Just like the athletes who sit in front of the computer with the little thing on, and the little wires are all hooked up. Beep, 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 beep. They're hooked up to the computer, and the scientist says, can you run that race in your mind's eye? Just imagine you're running it. And so they close their eyes and they imagine that they're running it, and every single muscle fires just as if they were running it. They're not, you're looking at them, they're not running it, but the computer picks up the fact that they are running it right here. So don't think for a moment that when you feel something that your body does not respond. The body responds. How do you know? Well, if you weren't anxious, the body wouldn't respond with an increased heart rate and you need a brown paper bag. So, whatever you are experiencing here in your mind's eye, your body will tell you, yes, this is true. So, that is why you experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if your desire were fulfilled. This experience of the end wills the means. With its larger outlook, the four-dimensional self then constructs the means necessary to realize the accepted end. The undisciplined man finds it difficult to assume a state which is denied by the senses. But listen, that's not a judgment. How does one go from being undisciplined to being disciplined? Practice being disciplined, and you shall become disciplined. So you see, there's no judgment. All of us can become disciplined just by practicing. But here's how he says, here is a technique that makes it easy to encounter events before they occur, to call things which are not seen as though they were. Romans 4, verse 17. Here's how. You see, people have a habit of slighting the importance of simple things. But this simple formula for changing the future was discovered after years of searching and experimenting. The first step in changing the future is desire. That is, define your objective. Know definitely what you want. Take a moment right here, right now, because there's no sense in reading it if you don't test it right now. So, do you know what it is that you want? Notice how it says, know definitely what you want. It does not say, judge it, try and justify why you need it, try and decide whether you're worthy. It doesn't say any of those things. It just says, define your objective. Define your objective. Know definitely what you want. Listen, for those of you who use Chat GPT, you have to know what kind of prompt to give, do you not? But the original Chat GPT is your consciousness. What? You doubt me? You have to decide what it is you want so that when you input the information, Chat GPT can spit out what it is you asked for. Now, when Chat GPT spits it out, you review it and you say, oh, not quite. But do you judge it and beat yourself up? No. You go back to the drawing board and say, how can I revise my prompt to ChatGPT so that I will get the desired outcome? ChatGPT already exists right here. Now, where do you think the impetus, where do you think the idea for ChatGPT came from? Man itself. Why? Because man is always talking to himself and getting an answer. You ask the right question, you get the right answer. So you, my beautiful friends, are already ChatGPT. That is why the first step is to define the objective. What do you want? And you must know exactly what you want. So, what do you want? Start there. I'll give you a moment while I sip my water to define your objective. Objective defined, right? Ready? Secondly, construct an event which you believe you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. An event which implies fulfillment of your desire. Something that will have the action of self predominant. Meaning, experience in imagination what you would experience in reality. What would that be? Would you hear somebody talking to you on the phone? Would you get a text? Would you get a letter in the mail? What would you do naturally to confirm for you that your desire is fulfilled? Take a moment. Take a moment. Good. So you know what you want, and now you have that small little thing that you would do. It could just be a simple little phrase. You don't want anything too complicated. You just want something simple. It could be a girl, let me tell you what happened. Or it could be, girl, you will never believe it. Or you'll say, you better sit down. I got something to say. Anything short, sweet, and to the point. Because every time you say it and think about it, it gets you fired up. Oh, so step three, immobilize the physical body and induce a condition akin to sleep. Lie on a bed or relax in a chair and imagine that you are sleepy. Then, with eyelids closed and your attention focused on the action you intend to experience, in imagination, mentally feel yourself right into the proposed action, imagining all the while that you are actually performing the action here and now. You must always participate in the imaginary action, not merely stand back and look on, but you must feel that you are actually performing the action so that the imaginary sensation is real to you. Why is that? Why do you want to participate in your imaginary act? Because then you're telling yourself, I am doing this. I am living this. But if you watch it on the screen, you just watching somebody else do it. And if you're going to watch somebody else do it, you will have to watch somebody else accept what it is that you want. As within, so without. So if you are the one performing the action, you must be the one to perform the action in the real world. But if you are just observing the action being performed, well, then that's your role. You will watch it as it unfolds for someone else. I trust that this makes sense. It is important to always remember that the proposed action must be one which follows the fulfillment of your desire. And also, you must feel yourself into the action until it has all the vividness and distinctness of reality. For example, suppose you desired a promotion in the office. Being congratulated would be an event you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. No? Having selected this action as the one you will experience in imagination, immobilize your physical body and induce a state akin to sleep, a drowsy state, but one in which you are still able to control the direction of your thoughts, a state in which you are attentive without effort. Now, imagine that a friend is standing before you. Put your imaginary hand in his. First, feel it to be solid and real. Then carry on an imaginary conversation with him in harmony with the action. Do not visualize yourself at a distance in point of space and at a distance in point of time being congratulated on your good fortune. Instead, make elsewhere here and the future now. The future event is a reality now in a dimensionally larger world. And oddly enough, now in a dimensionally larger world is equivalent to here in the ordinary three-dimensional space of everyday life. The difference between feeling yourself in action here and now and visualizing yourself in action as though you were on a motion picture screen is the difference between success and failure. What was that? The difference between feeling yourself in action here and now and visualizing yourself in action as though you were on a movie, on a motion picture screen, is the difference between success and failure. The difference will be appreciated if you will now visualize yourself climbing a ladder. Then, with eyelids closed, imagine that a ladder is right in front of you and feel you are actually climbing it. The ladder exercise. Close your eyes. The ladder is now in front of you. How would you climb a ladder in real life? But then do so right here. Remember, experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if you were climbing the ladder. Yes? Desire, physical immobility bordering on sleep, and imaginary action in which self feeling predominates here and now are not only important factors in altering the future, but they are essential conditions in consciously projecting the spiritual self. And that's why he always suggests doing it as you are falling asleep. Because naturally, you're keeping your body still and you are bordering on sleep. But not only that, you are feeling yourself into the action. Best time is before bed. Not as soon as you, well, if you're like me, as soon as I put my head on the pillow, I'm asleep. Okay. If that's you, get into bed a little bit earlier so that you can lay still and experience in imagination what you would experience in reality. And then once you do it over and over and over, lose yourself in sleep. If, when the physical body is immobilized, we become possessed of the idea to do something and imagine that we are doing it here and now and keep the imaginary action feeling going right up until sleep ensues, we are likely to awaken out of the physical body to find ourselves in a dimensionally larger world with a dimensionally larger focus and actually doing what we desired and imagined we were doing in the flesh. But whether we awaken there or not, we are actually performing the action in the fourth dimensional world, and we will reenact it in the future here in the third dimensional world. So you act it out here in your mind's eye, and then you reenact it in the physical because it will show up for you to do it. It says, experience has taught me to restrict the imaginary action, to condense the idea which is to be the object of your meditation into a single act, and to reenact it over and over again until it has the feeling of reality. Otherwise, the attention will wander off along an associational track, and hosts of associated images will be presented to your attention. In a few seconds, they will lead us hundreds of miles away from our objective in point of space and years away in point of time. If we decide to climb a particular flight of stairs because that is the likely event to follow the realization of your desire, then we must restrict the action to climbing that particular flight of stairs. Should our attention wander off, we must bring it back to its task of climbing that flight of stairs and keep on doing so until the imaginary action has all the solidity and distinctness of reality. The idea must be maintained in the field of presentation without any sensible effort on your part. We must, with the minimum of effort, permeate the mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Drowsiness facilitates change because it favors attention without effort. But it must not be pushed to the stage of sleep in which we shall no longer be able to control the movements of our attention, but rather a moderate degree of drowsiness in which we are still able to direct our thoughts. A most effective way to embody a desire is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and then, in a relaxed and sleepy state, repeat over and over again, like a lullaby, any short phrase which implies fulfillment of our desire, such as thank you, as though we addressed a higher power for having done it for us. If, however, we seek a conscious projection into a dimensionally larger world, then we must keep the action going right up until sleep ensues. Experience in imagination, with all the distinctness of reality, what would be experienced in the flesh were you to achieve your goal, and you shall in time meet it in the flesh as you met it in your imagination. Feed the mind with premises, that is, assertions presumed to be true, because assumptions, though unreal to the senses, if persisted in until they have the feeling of reality, will harden into fact. To an assumption, all means which promote its realization are good. It influences the behavior of all by inspiring in all the movements, the actions, and the words which tend towards its fulfillment. To understand how man molds his future in harmony with his assumption, we must know what we mean by a dimensionally larger world. For it is to a dimensionally larger world that we go to alter our future. The observation of an event before it occurs applies that the event is predetermined from the point of view of man in the third dimensional world. Therefore, to change the conditions here in the three dimensions of space, we must first change them in the four dimensions of space. Man does not know exactly what is meant by a dimensionally larger world and would no doubt deny the existence of a dimensionally larger self. He is quite familiar with the three dimensions of length, width, and height. And he feels that if there were a fourth dimension, it should be just as obvious to him as the dimensions of length, width, and height. A dimension is not a line. It is any way in which a thing can be measured that is entirely different from all other ways. That is, to measure a solid fourth dimensionally, pardon me, we simply measure it in any direction except that of its length, width, and height. Is there another way of measuring an object other than those of its length, width, and height? Hmm. Time measures my life without employing the three dimensions of length, width, and height. There's no such thing as an instantaneous object. It appears and disappears. Its appearance and disappearance are measurable. It endures for a definite length of time. We can measure its lifespan without using the dimensions of length, width, and height. Whew, one of us is getting sleepy. Time is definitely a fourth way of measuring an object. How? The more dimensions an object has, the more substantial and real it becomes. A straight line which lies entirely in one dimension acquires shape, mass, and substance by the addition of dimensions. What new quality would time, the fourth dimension, give which would make it just as vastly superior to solids as solids are to surfaces and surfaces are to lines? Time is a medium for changes in experience because all changes take time. The new quality is changeability. Observe that if we bisect a solid, its cross section will be a surface. By bisecting a surface, we obtain a line. And by bisecting a line, we get a point. This means that a point is but a cross section of a line, which is in turn but a cross section of a surface, which is in turn but a cross section of a solid, which is in turn, if carried to its logical conclusion, but a cross section of a four-dimensional object. We cannot avoid the inference that all three-dimensional objects are but cross sections of four-dimensional bodies, which means when I meet you, I meet a cross section of the four-dimensional you, the four-dimensional self that is not seen. To see the four-dimensional self, I must see every cross section or moment of your life from birth to death and see them all as coexisting. My focus should take in the entire array of sensory impressions which you have experienced on earth, plus those you might encounter. I should see them not in the order in which they were experienced by you, but as a present whole. Because change is the characteristic of the fourth dimension, I should see them in a state of flux as a living, animated whole. If we have all this clearly fixed in our minds, what does it mean to us in this three-dimensional world? It means that if we can move along time's length, we can see the future and alter it as we so desire. This world, which we think so solidly real, is a shadow out of which and beyond which we may at any time pass. It is an abstraction from a more fundamental and dimensionally larger world, a more fundamental world abstracted from a still more fundamental and dimensionally larger world, and so on to infinity. The absolute is unattainable by any means or analysis, no matter how many dimensions we add to the world. Oh, pardon me. Man can prove the existence of a dimensionally larger world simply by focusing his attention on an invisible state and imagining that he sees and feels it. If he remains concentrated in this state, his present environment will pass away, and he will awaken in a dimensionally larger world where the object of his contemplation will be seen as a concrete, objective reality. Intuitively, I feel that were he to abstract his thoughts from this dimensionally larger world and retreat still further within his mind, he would again bring about an externalization of time. He would discover that every time he retreats into his inner mind and brings about an externalization of time, space becomes dimensionally larger. And he would therefore conclude that both time and space are serial, and that the drama of life is but the climbing of a multitudinous dimensional time block. Scientists will one day explain why there is a serial universe. But in practice, how we use this serial universe to change the future is more important. To change the future, we need only concern ourselves with two worlds in the infinite series: the world we know by reason of our bodily organs, and the world we perceive independently of our bodily organs. And that is where we will end tonight, because tomorrow is chapter 2. Assumptions become facts. That is tomorrow. So before we chime into the silence, let us go back. This is why I highlight things. As we go into the silence, we will do that exercise once more. Oh, Pookie, are you okay? Sorry, that's my rooster. He's stirring. As we go into the silence, define your objective. One moment. Hi, sweetness. Come. Shh. I know. Let's do it together, okay? Let's do it together. It's okay. It's all right. Just sit here right on mommy's lap. You're a good boy. Define your objective. In other words, what do you want? New job, new car, whatever that is. Oh, stop. You're okay. You're okay. Don't make me eat feathers. You're okay. Define your objective. Take a moment to define the objective. You're okay, sweetness. You're okay. You are okay. You're okay. Ah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Define your objective. What is my objective for you? Hmm? Define your objective. Good. Now, experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if step 1 were true. What would you do? How would you celebrate naturally? I know. Do you have that small scene? Now, here's something that Neville did say. He said, if you do not feel comfortable, I guess some people would say, with visualization, how would you say thank you? How would you say thank you in acceptance? Then that is what you feel. You feel the thank you, feel the acceptance. Oh, wow, thank you. Feel it. And then that is what you do. That is what you experience, because you would say thank you, wouldn't you? You would say, you would say thank you. So step 3, Immobilize your body. So let's start by going to bed, right? Now, I told you if you fall asleep early like me and real quick, go and lay down a little sooner. Give yourself some extra time. Come. You're okay. Come, sweetness. Right here and wait for mama. Yeah, this might be good job. See? That's much better now, isn't it? I know it's almost your bedtime. So, as you are beginning to experience in imagination what you would experience in reality, I can see the moon through the blinds. You lay there and you bring up the sensation of that thank you, or whatever your small scene is. I like the thank you, to be honest, because it's just easier for me. I can feel thank you faster than anything else. So begin to just feel your thank you. And just feel your thank you. Feel your thank you. And then once you've felt it and it feels real to you, there you go. Step one, know what you want. Step two, accept it. How? By experiencing in imagination what you would experience in reality. Step three, go to bed a little bit earlier and bring up the sensation of your thank you. Bring up the sensation or the image of whatever that thing is. And you will begin to start to feel yourself drift. Well, then fall asleep because you would have fallen asleep how? In the state of the wish fulfilled. So let us spend 5 minutes in the silence. Know what you want. Experience in imagination what you would experience in reality. Immobilize your body and feel the thrill of your thank you in your body. That's it. Let us go into the silence for 5 minutes. And there concludes our 5 minute nighttime chime. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here and spending your evening with us so that we can fall asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled. Step 1, know what you want. Define your objective. Step 2, experience in imagination what you would experience in reality. And if that's simply me saying, whew, thank you, thank you, thank you. That leads us right into step 3. Step into bed 10 minutes earlier and begin to feel step 2, your thank you. And as you feel it over and over and over and over and over again until it starts becoming natural to you. And then simply allow yourself to drift off into sweet sleep, thereby taking with you into your most inner sanctum thanksgiving. And as within, so without. Much love to each and every one of you. And I'll see you on the morrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, fan base. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for morning inspiration. I don't know what the topic is just yet, but I am sure it will come to me. It'll come. It always does. So, thank you all for being here. And I know before I hit the hay, I will be stargazing. Oh, yes. Before I hit the hay, I will stargaze. Uh-huh. I'll see you. Peace out.